Absolutely. What a Monday all over again. Welcome back, everybody. Did you endure and survive the Last of Us episode 7? Well, you're in the right place. Let's talk about last night's episode 7. But be warned, spoilers will be abound about the episode, about part 1 of the game. We'll probably even we'll steer away from part 2. And we'll talk a little bit maybe about episode 8. We're going to get into that tonight. But yes, before we even get to the other house, I'm not going to forget this time. Jackson's actually going to give me a good old hurrah and a hey boy for putting the spanners. Oh, my Lord. The spoiler banner up in an appropriate fashion. Once again, let's welcome the boys back tonight. Double O, brother. Happy Monday, because it is Mondaying real hard, man.
What is up, man? Heck yeah, it is. I'm like so discombobulated right now, just recovering from the weekend, and I feel like I'm not even all here right now, but I'm ready to talk about the show.
Oh, I cannot wait to hear what you guys have to say. It is going to be a great discussion tonight. We'll see how many people in the chat want to share their opinion about last night's episode. And speaking about sharing opinions, somebody that's never been shy about sharing theirs, Jackson, brother. How are you?
Good. We have to talk about how you started the show on mute, right? That's going to be touched on.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of the episode. Now I feel like we should just end it there. I mean, That was fantastic.
Credits.
It was nice seeing everybody. No, I'm excited to talk about this too. It left me with a lot of concern regarding where the season is going, but yes, let's continue. Let's talk about it, I suppose.
Well, we'll do as we usually do and go around the horn with pretty much our grades for last night's episode. And I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say as we basically kick off what is our review and our reactions to episode 7.
All right, I'll take it. I'll go.
Yeah, I'm like,
I'm sitting there fishing. Who's going to take it?
Yeah, I thought it was like fine. I liked it. Okay, so background. I said last week that I was going to play the DLC before this episode, so I did that. And if we're going strictly on, like, we're mapping it to the DLC, how faithful was it, that sort of thing. I thought it was really good in that regard, but I still don't know. I don't know if an entire episode was necessary to get across what they were trying to get across. And with this much time left in the season, I'm worried we're sacrificing what I think is an essential ending to the season at this point, because I am now on the train that a lot of the worried people were on, where it's like, how on earth are they going to fit the finale stuff in if next week, per the trailer, is the cannibal stuff? Unless in a 40-minute episode, mind you, by the way, supposedly like 45-minute episode. So we'll see. I'm probably wrong. It's probably unfounded, but I don't know. It's shaping up to me like the theory of Pedro's going to stick around probably for a couple more seasons before we turn it into a full-fledged Ellie story. I think that might be a possibility now.
Oh, really?
wow.
Just based on this episode. Yeah.
Did you have a grade in mind?
Oh yeah, sorry. B+. I liked it. There were moments of it I loved. Like, I thought that Bella Ramsey did a really good job in like the scenes where you can see her internal dialogue. And I mean, it's obvious what they're trying to do. Maybe it was like, overacted to an extent, perhaps, but like you can see the wheels turning of like, does she feel the same way about me? Should I kiss her? Should I try to kiss? Like that kind of shit that we've all kind of been through, right? When we are crushing on somebody that we like. So I thought that was really good. The whole mall was like fantastic. Like, I don't know how they did that. Like, I don't know if that's half green screen built on top of a studio or how they did it exactly, but it looked legitimately like even the stores that were in there were like total matches for the time period you know, like you go Christmas shopping, those were the stores you'd see. They got the rights in the food court for some real locations there. Yeah, I thought that it was overall, I really liked it. My greater concern is for the rest of the show. And I like thematically what they did with the element of the flashback story and how, like, never give up, never leave someone behind, you know, don't take the easy way out. That whole aspect thematically with what's going on with Joel, I thought that was really good too. So overall, I really liked it.
Nice. B plus, pretty strong. Double O, man.
So, as far as the mall goes, I know there's so many like quote unquote dead malls around. Maybe they just used one of those and like dressed up some parts to be able to do that. But I think you're 100% right, even with the time where they did like make it look like the old logos and the old stores, and they did a really good job of that. Um, I'm gonna go with an A minus. I really liked it. This was a combination of the DLC and the comic book series. So I read the 4 issues again recently, the American Dream, and so I saw some things in there that were like right from that comic book, and some things that were straight from the DLC. So they kind of meshed those things together to give us this episode. And they definitely changed things, of course. And that's, I mean, I think everything they changed for the better. And it's funny that you said about Ellie, um, and how what she was feeling and such. This was the first episode where I'm watching with my wife, and she says, "You know, she's doing a really good job as Ellie." Like it finally, like, yeah, she's been like just kind of, she's been kind of standoffish the whole time, and she's like, "Yeah, she's okay, she's okay." And to this today, the carousel scene was when she finally, like the second during the second watch, she actually said that she said today, and it turned for her where she like, she doesn't look exactly like her, but I think that's okay. She's really got Ellie's mannerisms down, and she's doing a really good job at playing Ellie. So that being said, I give it the A minus because I think the story that they wanted to tell, they did a really really good job telling. I think what they're going to do is rush. I feel like the last 2 episodes are going to be rushed a little bit, Jackson, but I really do think you're going to get your ending. I think you're going to get the ending that you want, because if they cover everything they need to in the next episode, and we see everything we saw in the little trailer, the preview, all we need is like 45 minutes of going through
The
that
hospital
last
stuff.
building. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's all we really need. So we should be able to finish it to where you want.
Oh, you might be right. I hope you're right.
I'm just guessing, of course, but
I'd agree with that. I definitely want to kind of follow up more on that path that we're potentially taking after we get through the meat and potatoes of this episode. Because, man, Double O, do you have more on that on the episode?
I mean, there's so much that I can talk about. To me, that carousel scene was like the whole episode for me. That was everything Ellie was feeling, everything Ellie was trying, like what she wanted from Riley without, just like you said, or just like Jackson said about having the crush and not knowing. So I don't know. I know there's people in the chat that really liked some other music that was in there, but the song that they played during that carousel scene was the instrumental version of Just Like Heaven by The Cure. And that's the song that was playing. And The Cure is literally my number one band. Like I love The Cure more. I have more Cure stuff than anything else.
Nice.
So immediately, like I'm like, I just looked at my wife and she's like, "Oh my God, is that Just Like Heaven?" And that song like is all about, like, I mean, the lyrics are like, show me how you do that trick, and I'll run away with you. And it's like all about running away with somebody that you love. But it was done instrumentally. So it was Ellie not being able to say what she wants, but you can hear what she's feeling. So I could, like, the way, and it was going around, and like it was just, to me, that was absolutely perfect, and I really really liked that. I wanted to watch that episode again to make sure I watched that scene, and it was like, so I think it was just so well done.
Nice. You guys are gonna absolutely hate me. I've got 2 grades for this. I've got 2 grades. And I'll say this, anybody watching this that has not watched the official HBO The Last of Us podcast or listened to it, please do so after tonight's episode. And I'm not going to spoil a lot, but I'm only going to spoil one eensy teensy tiny little bit of that podcast. And my first grade for this episode was a B- for a lot of reasons. And a lot of those reasons are because they strayed even further away from the DLC, the downloadable content, where they went into Ellie's past and stayed there a lot longer than I thought they would have. Whereas I had really hoped that we would actually be bouncing back and forth a little bit more to keep the tempo up and to keep the anxiety. And we're on the third to the last episode. The anxiety, the pace, everything should be feeling very distraught. We should be more distraught than what we're feeling now. So I gave it in my head kind of a B-. Then I listened to the podcast on my way home from work. My new grade for this is a C+. HBO saved this episode. The Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey bookends at the very beginning and the end of the episode, the last 5 or 7 minutes where you flash in and out like that I wanted to see more of, and then the bookend at the front and then the bookend at the back, we're at HBO's excessive requests or like, hey, this is what we think you guys should do. Craig and Neil, they weren't even going to do that. They were going to go 100% full episode of Ellie and
Of the
Riley.
flashback. Wow.
You know that this is the first episode that Neil wrote, I believe, entirely. So this goes into the Neil Druckmann's a hack bucket and somebody saved his ass pile.
That's the only thing I'm going to spoil from the podcast, and I would implore everybody to listen to the podcast and hear more about what's happening. And I think, like, I think they're getting a little too far away from what people liked. What saved the DLC content was being able to hop back and forth a little bit. If you played that DLC content from start to finish in just the flashback, what context would you really have in the moment of what you're playing in the game?
Yeah, but in the DLC, they're flashing back because that's where the action is. Like, you're not fighting anyone in the mall parts.
Yeah. So 2 things really quick before I answer that. I want to say, so do you think the Neil Druckmann thing, him writing this whole episode, is that an ego thing where he just wanted to do, he wrote that part and just wanted to do it?
No,
only have that part?
No, I mean, it's the same. Like George R.R. Martin wrote an episode or 2 of Game of Thrones, I think, I think it's just something they do. It's like they want to try screenwriting. It's part of the deal with doing it. I don't fault him for that. It is interesting though, Andy, to your point, like if that's true, that would take away like the thematic element that I brought up.
100%.
Yeah. So I don't know how that would work.
That's where I kind of give it 2 grades. If Druckmann sat down and did exactly what he wanted to do and set out to do writing this episode, you'd have a start to finish flashback without any bookends, without as much context. Like there was more context in the game, obviously. In the flashbacks, yeah, you were fighting, but in the mall and in the flashback, you were still fighting a little bit. But I'd like to argue and debate a little bit, not necessarily here with this group. Maybe some people in the chat might feel differently, but you could have done more in and out flashbacks to deliver a little bit more stress and anxiety to keep that tempo up, because we're going to go from this to next week's episode is going to be insane.
I can't, dude. I'm so excited.
So I feel like this episode really hurts from the pacing aspect, and they could have, even if you gave me just 2 more 2-minute or minute and a half blurbs back into the real and now
into the present,
to reconnect with Ellie. We watched the 40 minutes of that episode without even knowing until the very last 5 minutes that she was in a memory realizing, hey, I'm not giving up. We didn't give up before. Riley and I didn't give up before. Look where I am now. I'm not giving up on Joel now. So extremely important episode, extremely important backstory into Ellie's experience in life. But because of the way this was written, it kind of hurts it on the grade. And I'm not the only one. This is the lowest rated episode so far in the entire season based on IMDb, which isn't like die hard voting, but there's a trend.
Yeah. And like, I mean, the whole show is good so far, right?
Oh, yeah.
So like a bad episode, quote unquote, it's like bad pizza, right? It's like there's no, like, you can eat shitty pizza and it's still pretty good, right? You know,
Truest thing
so
ever.
yeah, like I that is interesting that wasn't going to be there.
Right.
It wasn't. And I'm with Sticks Boy here that there needed to be some more jump scares in that episode. Something they did a nice job delivering some anxiety with how well like the doll shop was laid out, and you knew it was in there. You know what I mean? Like
That part was genuinely scary. We rewound that part, and that was one of the parts where my wife's like, "Oh my god, that was like scarier. That was the scariest thing I've seen in a while in this show." Like that part genuinely like was scary to her, and she rewound it. Um, but I wanted to touch on what you said earlier about when we were talking about this episode last week, and I told you I wanted it to start like it to go back and forth and give us the present, go to the back, just like it does in the DLC when you're playing. And when we saw the beginning of the episode, I'm like, oh man, I really hope she's hunting a rabbit. I really hope she's hunting out there. I was saying that like while it was just starting, that that once the music was over, and then it went straight to the house, or to see Joel. I wanted to see some give us a little suspense, edge of the seat. Is Joel alive? What's he doing? What's going on? But they went right to it, And I think, for the viewer, like this episode was necessary. The bumpers were absolutely necessary at the beginning and the end. But besides that, the rest of the episode was absolutely necessary the way it was because they don't know Ellie. Like, they don't know Ellie like you know Ellie, like I know Ellie, like because we played the game, and we know Ellie very well because of playing that game, and they don't know, and we learned some things even on this thing that we didn't know before about school and what she was doing, and the choices about the Firefly School. So they needed it, like like I'm reading some of this stuff in the chat, and Darth Lopez says, "I will never play the game. This will always be my version." And so things like that will, like, he needs the Ellie to be explained, so where she got the bite and what happened and how she got there. Excuse me.
that's an excellent point.
See, I don't know. I'm going to challenge you a bit on that. Does it matter? Like, we know she was bitten. Does it matter how she got the bite? Like could we not have told this? And I liked the episode, but like, I didn't feel like, for instance, I played the first game, right?
Mhm.
And then I played the DLC this week. Like, I don't feel some enhanced attachment to Ellie because I played the DLC or because I watched this episode. That's me personally.
Right.
Like, another thing I like Darth Lopez brings up that there's like 2 homosexual love story episodes in here, and that's impressive. Like, I want to make sure that people understand that, like, it's impressive because they're good. Because you can have gay characters and you can do things with gay love stories, but like, they shouldn't be judged more positively or negatively because they're gay love stories, right? So like, these feel like I'm watching this, I'm not gay, and it doesn't matter because this just feels like a natural like crush that you would have on someone. It doesn't really matter, right? So I hope that's where we're getting as a society, where like this isn't even a thing anymore. We can just like see something like this and not even think that way.
I think this helps. I think,
right.
Yeah.
Agreed. I 100% agree. I just wanted to say that because I saw the comment get shared. And I mean, I get it, especially if like you're a gay person watching this and I don't know anything about Darth Lopez, whatever. But like, if you're a gay person watching this, it's like, holy shit, like some show is actually like realistically handling like gay romance. That's probably pretty awesome. But hopefully we just don't notice it at some point.
Well, it's extremely well said because now it becomes relatable for everybody and not just
right.
people of that persuasion or that lifestyle. Is that or not? However, the correct vernacular that'll come to my mind eventually. But if anybody that's not of in that area, then it feels more it's like real life. It's more relatable. That's what's happening around us. So therefore, we can connect with the characters a lot better, and it's better storytelling.
Yeah, it's not some like freaky thing,
right.
to like,
be
You're
weird.
not
It's natural.
ostracizing it, or you're not like, it's not overly glorifying. It's not ostracizing. It's not overly negative. It's not overly positive. It's normal.
It's just realistic. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, and like you can see it through the discussions I've had on this show. So like the third episode, and maybe we weren't supposed to get as deep into this subject matter, but I think it's appropriate, I suppose. Like the third episode, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, well, at first it was like Nick Offerman. What the hell? Like, it's a little like shocking at first for people, including me. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that, like, you know, I don't notice it. Like, shit, I'm, you know, I'm not the most like pure, awesome, perfect person in the world. But like, even through that episode, everyone you talk to is like, man, and then you're watching the episode and it's like it goes through it. And like, I started crying at the end. You know what I mean? So like everybody is being affected by this. Like most people who didn't shut it off because they're just bigoted assholes, by the end of the episode were like, and I'm assuming it's the same here. I haven't talked to many people about this episode, but like most people are like, oh yeah, like, you know, I didn't even think about it by the end. So it's like you're watching people like possibly grow as people from a television show, which is kind of awesome. And I commend it, because especially like, you know, let's not deny that, because I know one thing that bothers me is when like political messaging and stuff gets shoved into TV programs that I like, and it's like super like wedged in there, and I can see the wheels turning, and whoever wrote it, they're trying to preach to me, whatever. Like, I haven't really felt that way with this. There's some of that in the second game for me. I'm going to admit it. It didn't bother me terribly, but like, I felt like this has been like really, really well done as far as those themes are concerned. So props to them.
Yeah, it's very well done, and a lot of people are definitely in agreement with that. I still have 2 grades for this episode because of the simple fact that Druckmann did not originally write those bookends in, and without those bookends, I feel that the audience wouldn't be as grounded as they are. Double O makes a good point, in my opinion, and I'm agreeing with him, where the bulk of the audience doesn't know Ellie, and they're seeing it from a much different perspective than we are, which also sheds a light on how important it is in the way that they deliver the relationship with Ellie and Riley, and the way that was done, which makes a little more sense. They spend that much more time kind of building that relationship on screen. But it's still one of those things where maybe give me another 2 minutes, 1-minute flashbacks where you're in and out, the anxiety's high, his heart's racing, he's bleeding out, she's trying to fight or flight, make that decision still, and it kind of it kind of brings you back from that lofty, high, cute love story that's developing to your background, and again, holy crap, this is right, this is what's, or not this is right, but holy crap, that's right, this is a life or death situation that we're in the middle of. And if they didn't bookend it at the end that they did, and I feel like that's why there was like a snippet or two where they drop back, they go back, and then they drop back in, and then they cut, because I think they tried to do that a little bit more at the end. But Jackson, you got your whole drawer seeking pull out.
Dude, I was just going to say it. She searched drawers. I'm content. I'm happy with life. None of them were completely empty, which bothers me, but I can get over that. She did search drawers, and she found an item, which was fun. I don't know if that item would necessarily do diddly squat in this situation, like if that really would have helped, but yeah, it was good. I liked it. I liked watching her search drawers.
Yeah, and I gotta admit, I again have to reiterate to everybody to please go listen to the official HBO podcast of this, because Jackson, you had a couple of comments about the mall situation. They shed a lot of light on that. That's really going to knock your socks off. I think you'd be extremely happy to listen to that and hear what they have to say.
Yeah, I would love to hear that.
Yep, there's more that I'd like to speak about that, but I don't really want to spoil it. I will say we get to see Ellie a little bit more originally from the beginning, fantasizing, kind of romanticizing with the firearm. She's had her pocket knife for some time, like Double O talked about. She received it in the comic book series that predates this. but this is potentially her first interaction with the firearm and able to romanticize it. Kind of, it was very curious to see how she does that, because that was all Riley had to show as proof that she became a Firefly.
Yeah, that, and the other thing I wanted, so there were a few things I wanted to touch on here that I feel like they're softening the blow for her personality in the second game. There's that, like, there's the way she reacts when she realizes she has been bit. There is a strange change where in the game she clearly finds booze disgusting and like spits it out and can't even drink it, to she's like taking slugs off the bottle in this. So yeah, there's some interesting like I don't know why, like they're changes for the sake of changing stuff, and I think the only reason is that they have to make her a little more hardened than she was in the first game, considering the direction they know that this is going.
I would agree with that.
I think.
So as far as the anger goes, when she's like smashing the cases and stuff with the baseball bat, that was she doesn't know how to cope with the fact that she's about to die. Like, not that anybody does, but she just found out. And like you see, Riley is acting so much more mature. She's sitting there, she's thinking it out. She's like, okay, these are our choices we got to do. I mean, she's a little bit older, of course, but not that much, a couple of years, I would say. I think she said she was about to turn 17, and Ellie's probably 14 at this time, I'm guessing. So Ellie is like just acting out, and I think other people she had lost like were not important to her. I mean, we don't know the story with her mom yet, but my thought is that she doesn't know her mom or never did. And so this is going to be the first person that she loses.
Yeah, and it works. I'm just, it wasn't in the game, and
that's true.
So I don't think it doesn't work. I think your explanation is completely solid. Like, if it was me, I'd probably react the same way. But I noted it.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
The other thing I wanted to note too is, like, does this work if Ellie's a 13-year-old girl and it's a 17-year-old guy?
Ooh.
No, it doesn't. I'll answer.
Well, I mean, Riley's, Riley's said 17 because that's when they ship her out.
17, yeah.
That's the age where you get a job.
Which is the next day, right?
She gets shipped out the next day, but she turns 17 in a month.
Yeah. Okay. Well, either way, I highly doubt that's happening.
It's funny because in the book, I noticed that I just read the comic series, and in there she's only 16. Like, there's for some reason they changed it.
Well, technically in the show, she's only 16 as well. She won't be 17 for a month.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, so if Ellie's 14, it's still like
2 years.
It would, like, if you're picturing like when you were a freshman in high school, right? Like the difference in what like senior dudes look like versus like brand new freshman girls. It's just, I highly doubt they'd get away with that. It might work in a book, it might work in a comic. On a TV show, it probably wouldn't work.
It might work in a Fedra children's school post-pandemic, post-apocalyptic.
Right, but remember, this is HBO, the channel that brought you Game of Thrones, where they had 12-year-olds marrying 9-year-olds. So it's.
That's true. Yeah, but in the Game of Thrones, we were watching that like, oh, this is fucked up, old, disgusting. You know what I mean? Like, we're not. This isn't they're not going for the same thing here. But it didn't bother me. Just something I thought was worth noting.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
In Game of Thrones, Ellie could have been breastfeeding still. So,
right, correct. Yes.
God.
Yes. And we'd have a brother and sister that were having children together.
Wow.
So I want to know your guys' opinion on one of the not hardest, but one of the biggest points coming across here was, what do you guys think about their decision to not show us the final moments between Riley and Ellie? Because we don't get to see the final moments of the two in the game, and Neil Druckmann's talked about him and Craig steering away from the game a little bit. I went into this episode fully expecting 100% that I was going to get to see the final moments of Riley and Ellie And then, in my opinion, I think the reason why they didn't do it is because they weren't ready to steal Ellie's innocence in this portion, in this season.
I think it's just better left unsaid. I think it's stronger if you don't see it. Like, what you can imagine what happens, right? Like, you don't really need to see it, right?
It
I
fades to
wondered.
black. I mean, I mean, as much as you want to see it, I think I agree with you. I don't think it's necessary to see, and I'm okay not seeing it.
When I say necessary to see, it's just like how they portrayed the actual bites. You don't actually see the bite take place, but then you know the after effects of that happening, and you see the after effects of that happening. Hence, just like with Sam and Henry, you don't physically actually see the action, but the after effects and some of the sound, it's like you were there and you closed your eyes and oh my god, it happened. So I thought this was an opportunity they were going to take to further develop that and some of the PTSD and some of the issues that Ellie has going forward as a young child in this world.
I am, Andy, totally with you on one thing that's kind of intrigues me as I'm watching this, though, is like I was thinking to myself, like, okay, how exactly did what's her name find her? What shape was she in? Like what happened after this happened?
Yeah,
because like, does she find her at the mall? Does she go find her? What's her name, by the way?
Marlene.
Marlene. Yeah. Does Marlene find her at the mall? Does she go find Marlene? Like, I don't remember. Was that explained in the game or any previous episode? No. Okay.
Not
How
to my
she ends up with
knowledge.
Marlene, we never know.
Yeah, you go from the comic book to her time in the boarding school into the downloadable content in the Left Behind series or aspect, and you don't get that bridge from this mall scene to her showing up with Marlene, and it's what I think 2 to 3 weeks. It's healed up. They said she survived, and this entire I'm guessing I like if Neil Druckmann wants us to paint a picture, Marlene finds her because Marlene goes looking for Riley as a new Firefly and finds Ellie there and takes Ellie and locks her up under quarantine because when we first meet Ellie at the beginning of the season, she's locked up, chained up, and they're still testing her daily.
Yeah, that's got to be it. She's got to go to the mall and find her, I think.
Especially when we stumble on, they develop in the mall a little bit more Riley's holdout there with all the pipe bombs being built up. Like she's got a little base camp. She's been staying there for some time.
Yeah.
That was good, by the way. I liked that scene where she like finds all the pipe bombs and stuff and is like, "You're going to use these on people? Like, what's up? Like, this is what you are now?"
Still innocent. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. Another interesting change was having it just be one creature that attacks them.
Yeah,
because I was thinking, like, really, they're not trained up to take care of one of these dumb fucking things. Like
it was a clicker though.
Borderline, right? Like it wasn't making the clicker noises.
I don't think it was a clicker, dude.
No,
because if it was a clicker, then they would have just stood there and been dead silent, and the thing would have gone after the radio that was playing the music or whatever.
But do they know enough to do that?
And it had an eye; it could see. It wasn't like covered in the fungal shit.
It was getting there. It was starting.
But yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. Like, I mean, it works fine. Like, you don't want another scene where there's like 30s. I think it's way more personal this way as a viewer, like in the audience, than, because in the game, you're trying to create like a fun action set piece where you like run away and you're jumping over stuff and going through hallways and whatever. Here it was a little more personal. I liked it. But yeah, I mean, why does she have a gun if that's her skill level with a gun? I mean, how did she not kill that thing immediately?
Right. Yeah. She was gone for 3 weeks, so maybe she got a couple of weeks of training somewhere. But
you would think, yeah, right.
Like, no, to shoot it in the head, like she didn't know that. Like, that was definitely questionable. But Ellie didn't know. She was like stabbing it in the stomach,
So yeah. This feels like it's really Ellie's first soiree with an infected, mind you, outside of the quarantine zone with the knife that her mom left her, because she's stabbing at the side. Exactly. You painted that out quite well. And it doesn't seem like Riley has too much experience at all either. It's just this is that one bad mistake they made.
Right. And I don't think Ellie would go back to the school after this because they would discover the bite, right? I mean,
So my
somebody would
guess is
see it.
Ellie
So I
is there
think you're right.
distraught. Yeah, Ellie is there distraught, and based on what we know from the beginning of the season, with a leg bite being 2 to 3 days and an arm and hand bite being a day to 2 days, Ellie probably gets picked up by Marlene in a
It
day
should
or
be the next day because she said she's supposed to ship out to Atlanta tomorrow. So it literally, Marlene's going to become looking for Riley the very next day.
and you can imagine that Marlene and any senior Fireflies out there are doing quite a bit of oversight on newly indoctrinated, newly aligned, not aligned, but newly hired. You know, you can hire somebody newly brought in Firefly kids that are 17, 18 years old. There's going to be a lot of oversight, or as much as they could provide.
Yeah.
At least you'd think that. But so Mark from Legion of Comics asks, so why? So are they going to show the flashback plays out? That's all we're gonna get was from the season. Mark, did you watch the full episode last night? I think they're not gonna do anything else. That's it. That's cut and dry and over with. They didn't show the most interesting aspect of the episode. Mark, what is it? What's the most interesting? Tell us.
He's talking
gotta
about
mean-
what you just said.
Yeah, what we were just talking about, the screen going to black.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's talking about her turning and Ellie shooting her in the face.
Okay, yeah.
I made that up. I don't know if she shoots her in the face or lights her on fire. I don't know what she does. Maybe she does a dubba and she just goes and lights her on fire. Who knows?
Could happen.
Yeah.
It was more fun that way.
Totally green, Sticks. She's totally green. But
yeah, no, she's not. She's got a closet filled with homemade pipe bombs in a closet. Like, she can shoot a creature.
my mind instantly went to the load a backpack full of those bombs, put it on Riley, and let her turn and walk around, and now you've got a walking zombie bomb. That's the first thing that came to my mind. And I don't know why I immediately thought of, like, this would be perfect in the video game. There's got to look for people with backpacks and shoot the backpacks now. And it made me want to play the game more. It really did.
Go play the game, bro. Nothing's stopping you. You can turn this off right now. Go play the game.
That was one of the biggest points, though, that I kind of wanted to talk about. So without going down the list and looking for every Easter egg and looking for every little cool thing, I want to know if you guys have any big standouts that were either added or missing that you guys wish would have been on screen more, or maybe were overused, or.
No, the part that was kind of fun in the game was when you're like, there's the super soaker part and there's the part where you're throwing the bricks at the car windows, but that really works well for a game. I don't know if it would translate very well to this. So I was happy with it. Yeah, I just don't, it's not my favorite set. Like, if you were to put this in The Last of Us just into the game and not have it be DLC, to me, it's not the most memorable part of the game. So I think that kind of translates a bit to the TV show too. Like, this is not going to be my favorite episode of the TV show, you know?
So so it's all about timing too, because when that DLC came out, it was after the first game had been out for a while, and the second game wasn't even like, there was not a trailer or anything for the second game. So it was new content that I believe people on PS3 had to pay for to be able to get the first time. Yeah, they had to pay for it to get it on PS3. And then when they released the remastered version on PS4, it was included with that, so you could play it. So getting a little more content for the people who love the game so much was kind of a big deal at the time. So now looking back at it, and especially playing it after playing the amazing mechanics and gameplay of the second game, like, it doesn't seem like anything, and it's very little small piece of the whole, of the whole. Firefly Shopping Network, right? Go, let's go.
Firefly Shopping Network. Let's do it. Maybe there was a store in the mall that sold pipe bombs.
Yeah.
We did get to see some
that didn't get rated.
So one of the things that I wanted to say was one of the biggest changes was that the mall had power, and we covered about around it, but everything had power. There were lights, there were colors, there were things turned on. They could take pictures in the photo booth. That rabbit was the same thing from the game, and they were able to do those things. And so now Ellie has a picture of her and Riley, as faded as it is, but she
I
does
like
have a picture.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought that was really cool. Yeah, this little scene was
Oh my
really cool.
God.
The way the lights all lit up and came at her, I thought it was awesome. The way they did that.
Okay, one nitpick here. Oh, we're inside. Like, don't worry about the lights being on. Am I crazy, or is that like a giant skylight at the top of the mall?
Yep.
It looks like definitely looks like a skylight.
Pretty sure everyone in town would see that mall lit up, dude.
Oh yeah, it would be a
That's true.
shining beacon of shopping
Yes.
network madness.
Yeah, what if that's it? So Marlene just shows up the next day and is like, "Hey, dummies, I saw the light from the damn mall that you had on. Thank God you turned the power on."
I mean, the fireflies do say look for the light.
Oh god.
There you go. It is all, but yeah, I thought that was odd. I'm like, guys, just green screen that big giant
Yeah,
skylight.
take it out. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, visually, this is amazing. If we want to keep talking about the mall situation here, there's more that plays. This is that teenage escape, the mall, the arcade. Very fitting how this mall situation was written into the original game and how they were able to capitalize on that with all of the colors. Because visually, we're watching a show.
Yes.
Granted, we're all nitpicking about the lights being on and there being a skylight, and
It looked great.
would have seen it. But they explained it away at the very beginning. Hey, Ellie, look, it's really like a big bunker. Nobody's gonna see anything here. Yada yada yada. But
yeah,
still,
Six says it was covered in vines and dirt, so you couldn't see this.
There you go.
Yeah, thanks, Six.
It was really fun to see Ellie like get to be a kid for like a whole episode. That was fun.
Yeah.
So
and then when they got to the arcade,
that was neat too. Yeah,
the arcade being on, the arcade, all those sounds and the pinball, all the machines going and everything happening. Raja's arcade, that was one of the things, like right from the comic. I don't remember if it was in the deal. I haven't played the DLC.
It was. So
okay, same one.
In the DLC, they go into the arcade, but all the games are broken, and she like has her close her eyes and imagine she's playing a fighting game.
Right.
So it's a little more magical.
It's called the turning. In the
game, honestly, I thought it was kind of stupid. That didn't do anything for me. Like, close your eyes. Oh, and then you like do the inputs of like moves from a video game, and it was like, come on, this would have been way cooler.
I felt it was really magical.
God damn it, Andy. It would have been cooler if they like made up a fake fighting game and you went in there and like part of the DLC was like getting to like play this other game that existed within the game you were playing. Yeah. That would have been cool. Andy, all right, fine. You're a sensitive soul. I get it.
I would have liked to play the turning, but I understand why we couldn't play it.
I'm with Sticks here, man. If you've got power to everything and you've got an unlimited bucket of quarters, there should have been a Dance Dance Revolution segment.
I don't think it was out yet.
Yeah, it was 2003. It wasn't.
Oh, was it? Oh, man.
It's pre-Dance Dance, pre-DDR, man.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah. A lot of good titles in the arcade. I am really, I think it's really cool that they're able to utilize Mortal Kombat 2, considering who owns what with HBO and all this other jazz. That's really cool. And honestly, like a lot of other people have said, Mortal Kombat 2 was the best of the whole scenario. So a lot of people the best of all the releases, a lot of people that resonates with them. Mortal Kombat 2 was one they spent a great deal of time at an arcade playing, pumping tons of quarters into it.
Please throw Legend of Comics his latest comment. Dude, I was thinking the same thing. How do they know these fatalities? Like, they must have like Game Pro issues from the late 90s back at the ranch or something. Like,
yeah, what else are they going to read? They've robbed libraries of everything, and there's probably stacks and stacks of these gaming and collection magazines and comic books laying around everywhere. That's probably sought after in liquid gold now, you know?
Yeah, they definitely should have done the thing, which they kind of did in the second Mortal Kombat fight that they had. But like, you know, like if I play my wife in one of these games and like I know the moves and she just picks up a controller and kicks my ass, like pressing buttons, it really pisses me off. So that would have been kind of a fun direction to take this in, I thought. Like Riley's been practicing, and then
she did say that she had been camped there for several days already.
Right.
And that it took her a day or so to figure out how to break open that coin machine. So they kind of
that was so cool. It was so well thought out as far as like a world building thing.
Yeah, like when they sit down in the photo machine, she pulls out a $5 bill. I'm like, where the hell is she getting a $5 bill 20 years after the real use of money?
Yeah.
She had this night planned out. She knew what she wanted to do. She knew where she wanted to take her. Had everything ready. Had the coins, had the dollar, had everything. So this was kind of a quote unquote date night that Riley was taking her on through the mall, and it was special for Ellie. And as far as the Mortal Kombat thing goes, two things about Mortal Kombat. One, they had a huge poster of Mortal Kombat in her
Yep.
dorm room, so they're obviously familiar with the game, and they're video game / comic book fans. Anyway, you see Ellie reading comic book early, but they had to have known about Mortal Kombat, so they knew some things. And at first, Ellie was just mashing buttons, but then she she beat Riley a couple times, yeah, and Riley was getting upset during it too. So this, just like you said, Jackson, when somebody is smashing buttons and beating you, that pisses you off no matter what happens.
Oh,
if
it's
they
the
don't know
worst.
like
Yeah,
how can you possibly do that?
And earlier in the season, we see the non-working cabinet in the restaurant or something when Joel and Ellie were passing through there, and she immediately recognized it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some history there. Maybe those Game Informer magazines are piled up in the barracks or in the kids' school.
And then just for the record, Mortal Kombat, I know the later one, so it's got to be the earlier ones too. Mortal Kombat 11 is published by WB Games. So WB and HBO was all the same for a while, so I think it's still.
Oh, the movie released direct on HBO Max, the latest movie.
So that's all. They own the rights to Mortal Kombat, so they can use it for HBO.
Yep, a poster of Inner Space as well. How will that fit with? Yep, in line with Mortal Kombat 2. I really love the escalator scene because it's easy to forget that both of these young girls grew up after the first day of the pandemic or after the first day of Outbreak Day. They were born after Riley was born 3 years after Outbreak Day. She's 17 and we're 20 years later.
Wow.
So Ellie has never seen an escalator before, and it was so magical for her.
And she's never had a father figure to tell her you don't play on the escalator.
Yeah, she immediately throws her legs across. Yeah. I mean, there was some very magical moments going around that mall, and I'm glad we got to spend the time that we did in there. But I'm also with Sticksboy and a couple others in the comments section where we needed a little bit of fright factor to be added to there, just a little bit. Like I could have used a little bit more. I might be nitpicking a bit, but
they tried. They threw the one scene where the guy's like the monsters like breathing and stuck on the wall.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, with all the vines and stuff that were under, my assumption was that was going to alert like a horde to come to the mall.
That's
what I thought was happening.
Yep, I agree.
Yep, I'm like, hey, oh my god, because my instant fear was, oh, he's alerting the rest of them. It's gonna go down. This is gonna be a massive chase scene, and it wasn't. But you know what else didn't happen that I'm a little sad about? We didn't get the hermit or his camp. Originally in the video game, the mall is there and it's infected free and it's clear and it's barricaded because there's a hermit there that either used to be a Firefly or used to be a Fedra officer, has set up camp there and has a horse, like a pony. And one of the burger shop counters that really isn't much of a shop or anything, it's just a counter, and then behind that's the fryers and the kitchen and all the other stuff. That was actually the pony stable in the game when you played in there. And there was some really cool little tidbits there because that's where Ellie and Riley found the liquor that they get into in the video game
that she spits out, right?
Yeah,
like so in his tent.
They go back there, like they've been to the mall before in the video game. This isn't their first time to the mall. It's their first time together at this point, and they go back looking for the hermit, and he has already passed away, or not looking for him essentially, but they talk about how sad it is that he's not there and he passed away and the pony's gone, but his liquor and his pictures and some of the other little notes and stuff are still there. I kind of missed that because it showed that another aspect of humanity was surviving outside of the Fedra quarantine zones, that somebody had found a way. Life found a way. Oh my God. Jurassic Park there. Life found a way.
It's also a very obvious homage to Dawn of the Dead, the original Dawn of the Dead, because the whole movie takes place in a barricaded up mall. And it's, I mean, if anybody has never seen it, It's like the dream movie, like the what would you do in a zombie apocalypse? Like that movie makes you feel like, oh shit, I would do exactly what these guys are doing. Like, how fun would this be to like take over a mall and barricade it up and like you have this mall. It's very much reminiscent of that, especially like I want an episode of that guy.
Yeah,
Give me an episode of that guy.
Remind me, Jackson, is that the one that starts out in the abandoned missile silo and they get in the helicopter, take off, and land on the roof of the mall, and then the rest of that, or are those two separate?
So there's not an abandoned missile silo. Dawn of the Dead starts off in a news station and everybody's going crazy.
Okay.
It's my favorite opening of any movie ever.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't tell you anything. It just drops you in. There's fucking pandemonium. Shit, there's zombies. What do we do? Everybody's going crazy. And then a few of them escape in a helicopter, land on the roof of a mall. And that's the whole movie.
That's Dawn of the Dead, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Day of the Dead is the one I'm thinking of where they're in an abandoned missile silo and they've got the trained zombie in the basement.
Yes, Day of the Dead is the one where they are at the military place in Florida and everybody's an asshole.
Yeah.
And it's not the Dawn of the Dead is fun. Day of the Dead is like incredibly dark and fucked up in nature with the military, and they're like capturing zombies, training them and like trying to learn more about them scientifically. Those movies are great, by the way.
Two of
the old Romero.
Two of my all-time favorite movies ever.
God.
Growing up in the 90s, watching those on syndicated television with some of the parts cut out. But here's a question. Does the mushroom roots come into play at any point where we see the horse underground and there are intelligent creatures?
I don't know what they're asking.
So Sticks, if you're asking if those mushroom roots do more than what we have seen them do, we don't know, because the mushroom roots are a part of the show, and we don't know anything about them past what we've already seen on these episodes. The roots were specifically created for the television version of The Last of Us, and it wasn't part of the game.
Yeah, they're like alerting. Yeah, it's like a communication network for the infected, is how it was kind of described. Yeah, that's all we know, right? Yeah.
Yep. So we are already at the 52-minute mark, surprisingly. Really quick, the episode opens up with Pedro's or Joel's view of being dragged behind the horse. I thought that was really cool. I just saw that flash in front of me and wanted to bring that up. But after talking with you guys, I'm going to land in the B-, not the C+. I'm going to land on the higher side of the grade. Seeing your guys' perspectives and talking about them adds more value to me, or to that show episode for me.
Give it a D, bro. Just stand by whatever you feel. Just go for it.
I'm not going to hate you, man. It's all right. You're allowed to feel what you want.
It's definitely it definitely hurts. Like it's not the best episode out of the series by any means, but we've got a little bit of time left, and we've got to talk predictions, and we've got to talk. Do you guys want to cover the sneak peek into episode 8? Question 1, yes or no?
Only as far as to say that we know it's the cannibal episode. Sorry, spoilers. It's at the bottom. It's your fault if you're still listening. We know what episode it is. And I don't know, like, at what point is that threat over? Is there 10 minutes left in the episode? Does it end with they get hit over the head, and the next one we wake up where we know the final episode takes place? I just am very, very interested.
He's messing with you.
Interested in what they're going to do, because now they've made me suspect that maybe this season doesn't just cover the entirety of the first game. Maybe it doesn't. It's possible that that's the case.
Oh,
I've gone the other way, man.
Really?
Totally the other way. I thought we weren't going to do it like at episode 3 or 4. I was worried that we weren't going to have enough time. But now where we are, and after seeing that preview for the next episode, and then I sent you guys the names of the episodes today for 8 and 9, and they had a little
what was the name of the final episode again?
Look for the Light, I believe.
And this Sunday's is When We Are in Need.
So
So you think it's lining up with the game? No, game 1 is going to be inserted into season 2.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I think we're going to get the ending that you have wanted since day one. I believe that. I don't know.
All right, dude.
But
We're
that's what
not
I
friends
believe.
if it doesn't happen.
It's
So,
all over, man.
I
So this next episode, the preview that we saw, I'm not gonna talk too much about it, but we saw a lot of things in that preview. We saw David sitting there talking to Ellie. We saw James, aka played by Troy Baker. There he is. There's our guy. We saw him. We saw him as like the sidekick to David, who's with him during the game. That's what it looked like to me. And he's trying to convince David to get rid of this girl. But you saw a really quick burning building, and that building was on fire. Like the whole thing was on fire. So
yeah,
that's what gives me the the faith that it's going to end with that building on fire, and then the final episode will be more than enough to get you to where you need to be. It's all this whole story is going to be told in an episode. I think that the whole day.
and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm just, oh boy, I hope so.
There's a lot to get in there. Sorry, go ahead, Andy.
We also get I'm sorry, I'm chomping at the bit here to add to what you've got, brother. You also get a glimpse of Ellie creeping around on her hands and knees, hiding below waist level, below what we see as like kitchen appliances and like kitchen countertops, and she's reaching up and she's grabbing a knife off of what looks like the top of a stove. And I think we're going to get exactly what we're hoping for out of this episode. I think they're going to deviate a little bit from the game, but I think so much happens from the time and point when Joel gets injured and Ellie and David meet in the video game. I think so much happens from the time of Ellie meeting David and his crew to Joel collecting or meeting back up with Ellie for the next part of their journey. I think so much happens that we're going to see the entire episode of this play out, because we get this as a screen grab of this is the whole lake, not lake town, but the lake resort.
Okay.
We get this one little glimpse right here, and it looks like it's almost pulled right from the video game, giving me goosebumps.
So hold on, Joel's gonna go in here and get Ellie, is your theory, correct?
Well, I think they're gonna stick pretty close to the video game, where Ellie's gonna try to go back. They're gonna capture her, and then they're gonna bring her. They're gonna knock her out and bring her here to this lake town or this lake side resort. And then Joel's gonna magically wake back up or something, where he's gonna track them back down. And we're not going to get that. We're going to have a really Ellie heavy episode with David and with Troy Baker's character and some other characters. And we're not going to get a lot of Joel till the end. Joel's going to be pretty much absent for the most of this episode. And I think we're going to get a lot of that horror thriller aspect that they're really looking for. I am absolutely positively pumped to see this play out, because this is like one of the most impactful, just chilling portions of the game, because the game, the series of the story, not just the game, of the whole story. So we talked about originally in Pittsburgh in the video game, they hinted on the hunters being the hunters because they were part cannibals, because they were stacking bodies up and experimenting with the bodies, and they may not be as advanced as this group or as David's group is at this point, but the implications were there, and the cringeworthiness of, oh my God, this is really happening. And then you get to hear, it's like, yes, it's really a thing happening in this day and age, in this universe, in this story. And we're going to get it delivered, and it's on HBO Max. And I don't think they're going to shy away from anything.
Dude, I can't wait. It's my favorite like segment of the game as far as like gameplay and stuff is concerned. It's really fun.
So we talk about a couple times earlier today, we talked about like getting that horror aspect, getting the jump scares, getting, like being afraid of what's going to happen. And I think that, if it plays out like the game did, that this part of the game is scarier than any of the clickers, any of the infected, any of the human the human villain, the humans are more scary and dangerous than anything else in the game. I am more afraid of humans doing what they do than I am of the infected doing what they do. The infected are predictable. The
Yeah.
humans are not.
They even add a bit of religious undertones here that even make it more cult-like and more worshipy. Like it's I'm not saying I have anything against religion, but I think where they're at in this point of the story, these people take it to that cult level and beyond, and are devout worshipers of whatever form of religion they're applying to themselves and to the land at this point, which makes them even more unpredictable, and they're already unpredictable as humans, and they're cannibals. Oh my god.
Love me some cannibals, baby. Let's go.
Let's
go. We better see somebody with a fucking ankle, fucking holding an ankle with a calf muscle on it, eating it. That's what I want to see.
Just gnawing on it.
That's what I want to see. That gets me excited.
Oh god. Stargate and escapes the Earth. Okay, he's fishing. He's fishing for fun right now. Mark says he's afraid with 500 shrooms poured out of a big hole in the ground. What's that? Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, that was really good, Legion. I'm not going to argue with that. That was amazing.
I definitely don't hate God, but when somebody twists and contorts a narrative to their own belief system and creates their own form of faith into and applies it to how they need to live to survive, that's already horrific enough as it is. That's like watching a Hellraiser movie, in my opinion, man. And next week we're going to be here with our jaws on the floor. It's going to be insane. I don't know what else to say, really.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So next week we get Troy Baker. He's part of that crew, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. And then the next time the week after we'll get Ashley Johnson.
Do you guys okay? So Ashley Johnson's not showing up next. It's in the final
according
episode?
to the pictures, the pictures of the episodes that I saw, that Ashley Johnson was in the final episode, which means we'll get a little more of Ellie's background, probably.
Wonder if we get a little bit of because like we talked about in the predictions, like if we get this chunk from David meeting Ellie to Joel picking her back up and going on their next leg of the trip, that means the final episode, in my opinion, if you're saying we're getting a little bit of that, I think we get some travel towards Salt Lake City, a little bit of travel in Salt Lake City, maybe. Then we maybe get the giraffe scene, and then maybe get the Ellie's mother scene leading into the hospital scene.
Yeah, probably part of the hospital.
Ooh, predictions, man. Okay, what an amazing hour of rambling on about this fantastic show. I gotta admit, I think it's time to go around the horn to see if you guys have anything left that you want to touch base on before we close it up.
I just want to remind everyone that this show started with Andy mumbling into his mic while it was muted. Just make sure you don't forget that, everybody.
The replay is going to be hot.
I would like to counterpoint that. I would like to remind everyone that Andy did start the episode with the spoiler banner going today.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I should have given you credit, Andy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
next week. Maybe you'll get both the spoiler banner and the mic on.
It's not that I ever get better. It's just a trade-off. I do one thing good and do one thing bad, and it's just a trade-off.
Progress.
It happens when you're overly analytical like myself. But God,
Good
yeah,
job,
I can't wait. Sunday can't get here fast enough. We are one day down and 5-6 more days closer to that episode. The only thing I want to add before we do the last round of it is Renavision on YouTube is going live very shortly. And in fact, have they started? Yes, they are live right now. We're dropping the link. Actually, it's I think a preview actually, but we're dropping the link. Everybody go ahead and head over to Renavision, give him a follow and give him a thumbs up for his new series tonight, Undervalued Comics. No, I thought this is the Ghost one. He had a Hidden Gems episode 45, Undervalued Comics, Kool-Aid, and more comics to hunt. Peter does a fantastic job over his channel with Double O, hangs out there quite frequently, and so does Marco, Tales from the Dark Side podcast. Great content over there all the time, and it looks like people are popping over there Now, that's all I want to say. And in closing, Double O Man, where can people find you, and what do you have going on next?
Just like you said, I hang out on the Renovision channel. I will be there this Wednesday, where I believe, in honor of Bruce Willis, we will be just tier listing some Bruce Willis projects. I think that's our big thing, and that's this Wednesday at 9:15.
Prayers for Bruce Willis.
Prayers for Bruce Willis, man.
Thank you much, sir. Thank you. Jackson, man. We all know where we can find you, right?
Yeah, you can find me right here on ComicManAndy's channel, where he has graciously let a bum like me back on the interwebs to talk about an awesome TV show and made me waste 30 hours of my life playing the video game. And find me right here. Go to my channel, Bored and Annoyed. Just look it up on YouTube. There's a link in the description here if you want to watch our old stuff. If you beg me, maybe I'll find a new co-host to jump on and start a show up again. So,
I'm looking forward to that. I always love your guys' retrospectives on everything. I absolutely miss being able to podcast you on my way to and from work, and because I can only spend so much time watching movies or TV in a given week, and you guys help me cover a lot of ground and some other stuff that I wanted to learn more about.
it's always good to know what to avoid, I figure. I watched a lot of bad stuff when I was doing that weekly podcast. There's about 100 episodes out there.
Mac and me.
Mac and me. Yeah. Well, that was the special roundtable episodes, but yes, Mac and me. Highly recommend Mac and me. Definitely worth a watch if you want to kill yourself. But yes, you can find me there. Find me here. Thanks to Andy.
Awesome. I can't wait to get together next week and avoid the noise. Yes. You guys know where to find me here every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, hanging out with everybody in the community, having a blast, and every other Friday doing live blind CGC unboxings and giving away CGC books. I don't recommend Milo and Otis. Surf Ninjas for Life. The recommendations are flooding in now. Mark grew up on Mac and me. Still have the VHS.
Wow.
Yeah, we on that roundtable, the downright annoyed with movies. We were on there with like Fake Nerd Podcast, that crew. Your cohort, Andy, Mr. Ken, love Ken. So we watched a lot of bad shit. Most of it was recommended by a certain gentleman named Cookie on that show. Including Surf Ninjas, which was absolutely awful and not worth your time to watch. Even to hate watch, it's not worth your time. It was terrible. I would wholeheartedly recommend watching Mac and Me over Surf Ninjas. So,
oh boy,
yeah,
awesome stuff. You need to look up Paul Rudd, Mac and Me. You'll thank me later. It's golden. We will definitely do that. Where did Mike ever go? Get him back, Jackson. Mike had some bigger life things happen that he wanted to pursue.
Those aren't important. That's not an excuse. No, I texted him just now actually to ask him if he's watching The Last of Us. So if he says yes, I'm going to invite him on the show. If he does, I'm assuming that's approved. If he doesn't say yes, I'm going to tell him he has to watch all the episodes and then he can come on
and be ready for next week or at least the finale.
Yes.
Yes. Correct. He has to. He owes us that much.
Yeah, I'd like to see Mike again. I miss Mike too, solo.
Oh God, that's great. Well, hey, I can't thank you guys enough for your time and for another fantastic rehashing of another episode of The Last of Us. But until next week, everybody, look for the light, right?
Be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.